Welcome back, everybody. This is Midnight Otaku, and today we'll be continuing on where we left off previously from Umineko no Naku Koro ni Rondo of the Golden... Rondo of the Witch and Reasoning. I don't know why I wanted to say Golden Witch. Alright, a news ticker popped up on the top of the TV program we were watching. The disaster report told how municipalities all over were continually sending out rain, flood, and wave warnings. Of course, the raindrops beating harshly on the window were even more convincing. Aren't y'all curious that Maria never came back to the guest house with y'all? Wouldn't you think you want to know where she is?
typhoon の速度が遅いそうだから、下手すりゃ明日も丸一日こんな調子らしいぜ。ちょっとの天気でも船は欠航するもんだしよ。
やっぱり日曜日のうちには引き上げられないか。念のため月曜日に外部とのスケジュールを入れなくて正解だったよ。
ってことは月曜の学校はサボれそうだな。島生活ってのも悪くないもんだぜ。もうそういや、ジェシカは登校って毎日船で通ってるわけだろ。船が欠航したら学校はどうなるんだ？カメハメハ大王並みに雨が降ったらお休みで、風が吹いたら遅刻してか。
船が出なきゃ休みになるぜ。もっともそう甘くはねえけどな。大抵その代わりに自習が指示されて、後でかっちりと見られるから、そうそう気楽でもねえさ。
I don't know what you mean.
例えば梅雨なんかの長く天気が崩れる時期だと数日間くらい登校できないこともあるんじゃねえのか？
そういうこともあるぜ。でも毎日きっちり担任から電話がかかってきて、どう自習しろ、何を提出しろとすっぱく指導されるけど
バトラ君が考えてるほど簡単にはサボれないよ。船で通う人たちのルールに従ってしっかり勉強をしているよ。
な。むしろ登校できた方が気楽だぜ。
Shoot, when I was in school, I could skip school all the time. Never get in trouble. That's because I was like 4 or 5 years ahead of my peers in schooling.
集中もできねえしな。それでいて問題集ばっかり数日もやらされてると、かなり精神的に応えるもんがあるぜ。大学の時にはよ、寮のあるところに入ってさっさとこんな不便な島はおさらばしたいもんだぜ。
へえ。じゃあよ、ちなみに行きは天気が良くても帰りは悪くて欠航ってなったらどうすんだ？学校に泊まるのか？
そういうのはよくあることだぜ。だから帰島できない人用の宿泊所があってよ、そこに寝泊まりするんだよ。下手すりゃ数日間家に帰れないこともあったりするぜ。
乗車率が 200% を超えるような満員電車で毎日通勤通学しなければならない人から見てみると、船の通学なんて趣があって良さそうだな。やっぱりいろいろと苦労があるんだね。
よく無神経な観光客がそういうこと言ってるぜ。私は島の生活なんてもうお腹いっぱいだね。早く高校出てこんな島とはおさらばしたいぜ。
高校にだって全寮制のところとかあったろうよ。なんでわざわざ新島の学校を選んだんだよ。
私は最初からそれを希望してたぜ。でもおふくろがよ、当主後継ぎとしての修行やらマナーやらがうんぬんってうるさくてよ、結局高校も地元になっちまったのさ。 島はごめんなぜ。早く都会で生活したいよ。雨が降ろうが槍が降ろうが、ラフな格好でサンダルを履けば5分足らずでコンビニに行けるような都会に引っ越したいぜ。
もう少しの辛抱だよ。高校卒業まであとちょっとでしょ。
そのちょっとも我慢できねえぜ。
Jessica stretched out and reclined on the sofa. Maybe it was a bad time slot, because there weren't any interesting programs on, and we had nothing to do but languidly kill time until we were called for dinner. After that episode, Marty had never returned to the cousin's room after all, and Rosa probably took her back to the mansion. It had to be pretty boring for Marty, all by herself while the adults had a confusing conversation. We thought we might as well head over to the mansion to see her, but the weather really was awful, and since there wasn't much time until dinner, we stayed where we were. At that time, we heard the sound of a humming knock. Jessica answered.
お食事の準備が整いました。お屋敷へお越しください。
It was Kinnikun's voice. Did he go to all the trouble of coming from the mansion in this rain just to get us? Couldn't you have just called us on the telephone? Well, I guess servants at work don't always get to take the most efficient route.
なんとなくお腹が空いてきた頃だったしね。行こうか。
George Aniki turned off the television and stood up.
俺はとっくにペコペコ。本家の晩餐は毎回凝ってるしな。それにゴーダさん、子牛のステーキとか言ってなかったっけ？たまらねえぜ。
親族会議の日は特に豪華になるしな。私だって楽しみだぜ。行こう行こう。
As we left the room, Kinnikun bowed silently and respectfully.
じゃあ行こうぜ。外の振りはだいぶひどいだろう。
はい。お召し物を濡らさぬよう十分ご注意ください。
After seeing the three of us out, Kinnikun peered into the empty room.
マリア様はいらっしゃいませんか？
一緒じゃないぜ。ローザおばさんと一緒じゃないのかよ。
Rosa was lying on a sofa in the empty parlor, having fallen asleep before she knew it. She was bearing a burden that the children couldn't even imagine. That's why she only needed to let her guard down a little, before the weariness immediately dragged her into the world of sleep. Realizing this, Genji brought a blanket over to her. When he tried to spread it over her, her eyes snapped open as though she'd been shocked with electricity.
ありがとう。源氏さんなのね。
When she realized that the thing that had touched her was just a blanket and that Genji had been considerably giving it to her, she let out a sigh of relief.
起こしてしまいました。失礼いたしました。
いえ、いいの。寝るつもりじゃなかったから。今は何時なの？
When he was asked for the time, Genji checked a pocket watch that he took out of his chest pocket.
6時を少し過ぎたところです。
Rosa gave her head a little shake when she realized that not much time had actually passed, even though it felt like she'd slept for ages. Even though she didn't feel rested at all, the drowsiness that had enveloped her must have been pretty deep.
ありがとう。毛布は結構よ。変な時間に眠っちゃダメね。すっかり時間の感覚が狂っちゃったわ。雨、とうとう降り出したのね。
Rosa finally realized that the peaceful sound that had put her to sleep was actually the rain.
風もだいぶ出てるよね。いよいよ台風なのかしら。
そのようにテレビでは申しております。遅い台風だそうで、明日いっぱいはこんな調子だそうです。
そう。この素敵なバラ庭園も 日中のあれが見納めだったのね。
From the window, what she could see of the rose garden was completely blurred by the wind and the rain.
そうだ。マリアは？
私はお見かけしておりませんが、ゲストハウスにお戻りではないでしょうか。
Rosa knew her daughter's nature well. She saw a chill run down her spine. Maria was stubbornly honest, and if she was ordered to find something that didn't exist, she would look forever and ever, even in pouring rain. Now that's dedication.
いとこの子たちは先に行ってしまったから、あそこにはマリア一人。あの子は誰かにもうやめろと言われない限り、たとえ槍が降ってこようとあそこに居続けるわ。傘もささずに。私は感情に任せてなんてことを。
Even though she knew about Maria's simple honesty better than anyone, she once again lost control of her emotions and done something terrible. Rosa pushed Genji away and ran down the hall. It also really looked like a typhoon, and the rain was pouring down spectacularly. Maybe because of some aspect of the terrain, the winds weren't typhoon class, so an umbrella would be torn out of one's hands. Even so, it certainly was a windy rain. There was no time to admire the roses being drenched.
とりあえず今はマリアが気になるぜ。まさかあの後もずっと一人でへそ曲げてあそこでバラ探しをしてるなんてことはないよな。
そうだね。さすがにこの雨じゃと思いたいところだけど、マリアちゃんはたまにすごく頑固でものすごく愚直な時がある。
We hadn't worried much, thinking the Empress had taken her back to the mansion. However, when Cancun had come from the mansion to call us and thought Maria was here, we got a little worried.
お屋敷ではお見かけしませんでしたので、てっきりこちらにおられるとばかり。ローザ様は仮眠を取られておいででしたので。
ここに来る途中に見かけなかったのかよ。
申し訳ございません。傘を差し急ぎ駆け抜けたもので、そこまでの注意を払いませんでした。
If he had cut through the rose garden, taken the short line between the mansion and the guest house, then he would have just barely missed the place where Marty had been looking for a rose. And it was raining this hard, too. It certainly would have been possible for Cancun to fail to notice her.
ここで議論するより直接確かめる方が早いさ。兄貴、ちょいとかけっこと行こうじゃねえかよ。
6年成長したから僕に勝てるつもりかい？よし、決着をつけようじゃないか。行こう。
George and Anakin flew out into the rain. Jessica and Cancun followed us.
ローザおばさんだ。おばさん。
When George and Anakin called back, Aunt Rosa jumped at him and grabbed onto him.
マリアはどこ？ジョージ君たちと一緒じゃないの？
いえ、僕たちはあの後マリアちゃんには出会ってません。
6 years ago, Maria was 3 years old. She was a cute and pure kid who just accepted whatever anyone said, but 6 years had passed since then. She's 9 now, and experiencing the ups and downs of life should have taught her something. But Maria, are you telling me you're still as innocent and pure as you used to be? As I circled the rose bed, something white unexpectedly turned to face me. It was a white umbrella. Maria was crouching down, holding the white umbrella and still searching for that rose. Her face, which had turned bright red from her crying her eyes out, was dirtied with water and mud. It was a truly pitiful sight.
まだ探してたのか。
Yep.
見つからない。マリアがから見つからない。
Marty had probably been here since the rain started pouring down. Her shoulders were freezing. She looked tired to the bone, but fortunately since she was holding an umbrella, she wasn't completely soaked. The umbrella probably came from the handbag Marty always carried around. Thank goodness. Seriously, thank goodness.
バトラ君、よかった。見つけたんだね。
Aunt Rosa threw her umbrella aside and hugged Marty.
ない。マリアのバラがない。後でパパも一緒に探してあげるから。だから今日はお預けにしなさい。
Maria still wasn't able to accept it, but she no longer had enough energy left to resist. Jessica and Kenny-kun caught up with us.
すぐにお屋敷でタオルの用意をさせましょう。
マリア、ずっとここにいたのか。ごめんね。本当に悪いままで。ごめんね。
ローザおばさん、とりあえずお屋敷に行きましょう。このままじゃマリアちゃん風邪をひいちゃう。
そうね。マリア、行きましょう。ちゃんときれいにしないとおじい様に怒られちゃうわよ。お腹すいた。もう食事の時間だぜ。マリアはよく頑張ったよ。天気が良くなったら私たちも一緒に探してやるから。
We couldn't stay in the rain forever. We took Maria with us as we headed back to the mansion. Maria apparently wasn't as worn out as I thought. When she remembered we were having calf steak for dinner, she started chanting, I'm hungry, ooh, ooh, and returned to her usual spirited self. Aunt Rosa didn't chide Maria for saying ooh, ooh.
そっか、傘を持っていたのか。さすがマリアは物持ちがいいぜ。マリア、傘なんか持ってない。
なんだよ。じゃあその手に持ってる白い傘はどうしたんだよ。
貸してもらった。
Some caring person must have brought her an umbrella, and Naruto would look for shelter once it started raining, but Mario was too stubborn to give it up so easily. So maybe that caring person gave up on telling Mario to find shelter, then decided to at least give her an umbrella.
そう、その人にお礼を言わないとね。誰？
The name Mario cheerfully mentioned was that of the island's witch. Rosa took a deep breath and asked again, trying to do so in a way that wouldn't damage Mario's good mood.
そう、よかったわね。それで誰なの？傘を持ってきてくれた人は。おお、ベアート。いいぜ。
Maria immediately realized her mother didn't believe her and started crying out unhappily again, so Rosa stopped pursuing the subject. It'd probably be faster to ask whoever lent Mario the umbrella during dinner rather than ask Mario herself.
お父さん、せめて晩餐にだけは出席してください。これでは親族会議になりません。
Along with the dull pounding on the door, the sound of crosses and entreaty could be heard. However, that voice seemed to be resigned to the fact that nothing it said would be heard.
金蔵さん、せめて夕食くらいは出んかね。あんたの顔を見ようと。 息子さんたちが集まってきてるんじゃないか。
黙れ南條、ビショップが聞かぬか。言って足りぬ。
Apparently, Kinzo was completely focused on the final battle of his long-lasting chess match from Nancho. Kinzo's brow was wrinkled as he continued to glare at the gameboard through his spectacles. Cross's voice didn't reach his ears.
金蔵さん、私もう腹が減った。下に降りて食事をせんか。
ならばお前だけで行くといい。私はもうしばらくこの一手を吟味させてもらうぞ。今夜で決着をつけてやる。さもなくばお前との決着は金輪際つけられそうにないからな。
Nancho rose from his seat, hoping this would prompt Kinzo to do the same, but Kinzo's eyes never left the chessboard. He knew well that Kinzo always displayed a blind concentration when it came to chess, but he'd never seen Kinzo concentrate as hard as this. It was almost as though Kinzo was telling the truth, and there would never be another chance for them to continue their contest if they didn't finish tonight. It seemed that no matter how obstinately he called out to Kinzo, it wouldn't reach the latter's heart. Nancho gave up and headed to the door that Cross was still banging on. The door to the study opened. Cross was taken aback, thinking that maybe Kinzo was actually coming out. However, Nancho was the one who appeared, and Cross let out a sigh of relief.
なんじゃ先生、親父殿は。お役に立てなくて申し訳ございませんな。今や金蔵さんの世界はこの部屋だけです。
Nancho shook his head with a completely defeated expression. Cross raised his fist once more and banged on the door, shouting.
お父さん、聞こえますか。私たちは下へ降りますが、気が向かれたらいつでもおいでください。息子兄弟一同、ずっとお待ちしておりますよ。
His voice was very loud, and he was making a racket pounding on the door. There was no way it wouldn't reach Kinzo's ears. Well, it certainly was reaching him, but he ignored it anyway. However, unlike the time he'd been called down for lunch, he didn't fly into a rage. By now, Kinzo was calm at heart, almost as though he had taken on a philosophical view and turned himself over to fate.
晩餐にも息子たちの顔にも興味はない。私がここを出るのはベアトリーチがよみがえる時か、私が鍵の生贄に選ばれた時だけだ。もう悪魔のルーレットは回っている。今さら晩餐に何の意味があろう。
And so the painfully loud banging on the door completely failed to enter his hearing. Kinzo silently thought about his next chess move, still in his philosophical state. Just as always, Kinzo's figure couldn't be seen anywhere in the dining hall. Cross, wearing a bitter smile, returned with Nancho.
親父殿は相変わらずご気分が優れられないそうだ。年に一度の親族が集まるこの機会に同席できないことを非常に残念がられておられた。
Evan and Rudolph sniggered. Given Kinzo's personality, there was no way he'd show signs of regret, and none of his relatives showed any regret at his absence.
ではディナーを始めようじゃないか。ゴーダ、始めたまえ。
かしこまりました。それでは始めさせていただきます。
When Goda was told to start the family conference dinner, his biggest time to shine of the whole year, he nodded with a broad grin.
マリアに傘を貸してくれた人は誰かしら。
When Rosa timidly cut through the silence of the dining hall, everyone noticed.
傘？何の話？さっきマリアがバラ庭園にいた時に雨が降り出して誰かに白い傘を借りたみたいなんだけど、お礼が言いたくて。
俺たちじゃねえぜ。ローザが出てった後は部屋を移してずっと仲良くおしゃべりをしてたからね。はは、そうやで。あの後も兄弟で仲良くおしゃべりをしとったのや。
The word friendly fell awkwardly from Hideyoshi's lips, so even those who hadn't been present could tell the conversation hadn't been a pleasant one.
少なくとも私とエヴァとルドルフとあと秀吉さんと桐江さんではないことも確かだがね。
私たちは夏日姉さんとローザさんが出て行った後もずっと一緒だったわ。食事の時間までずっとね。兄さんは源氏さんと一緒にお父様を呼びに上の書斎へ。私たちはそのまま食堂へ直行したもの。だから私たちではないわね。傘を貸すなんて親切、使用人の誰かじゃないの？
じゃあ合田さん。
私はずっと厨房で準備をしておりましたもので、申し訳ございません。
Goda looked slightly disappointed about missing this chance to show off. At that time, Shin and Kumasawa appeared, pushing a serving cart loaded with hors d'oeuvres.
じゃあ熊沢さんかシャノンちゃんかしら。はい。何か粗相がございましたでしょうか。
Because Shin and Kim part ways, she shrunk back mistakenly, thinking that the others were searching for the one responsible for some error.
違うよ。マリアちゃんがバラ庭園に一人でいた時に雨が降ってきてね。誰かが傘を貸してくれたんだよ。ローザおばさんがその人にお礼を言いたいっていうのさ。
ああ、ベアトリーチェ。
Maria, her mouth a thin line, said the witch's name in a small voice. Aunt Rosa explained the situation one more time. As she did, Kumasawa-san cackled.
私たちでもございませんよ。私もシャノンさんも一緒にお部屋の準備をしておりましたから、お外には出ておりません。
はい、気が利かなくてすみません。
部屋の準備とは何のことかね。
この雨ですから、客人の皆さんがゲストハウスにお帰りになられるのも大変かと思って、使用人たちに屋敷内の客室の準備をするように命じたのです。あら、気が利くじゃない。そうね、この雨の中表に追い出すのは失礼なものね。
もう予算か。
はい、奥様からそのようにご指示を受けまして、私と熊沢さんとカノン君の3人で準備をしておりました。そしてご夕食の時間になり、源氏様からゲストハウスのお子様方をお呼びするようご指示をいただいたため。
ええ。ですからカノンさんがゲストハウスに行かれる時にマリアさんを見つけて傘をお渡ししたのではありませんか。
ほー、違う。
The person who actually received the umbrella denied it. Rosa was troubled. All she wanted to do was give a word of thanks to the person who lent the umbrella, but she couldn't find them, and she thought asking like this with everyone gathered for dinner would work immediately.
じゃあ夏日姉さん。
ごめんなさい。私は皆さんとの仲良くの語らいの後、頭痛がひどかったので自分の部屋で休んでいました。ですから表へは出ていません。
なら誰なの？ジョージ君たち？なわけないわよね。
いえ、僕たちじゃありません。僕たちはずっとゲストハウスでテレビを見てました。
むしろ私たちはマリアはおばさんと一緒に屋敷に行ったとばかり。
Something's wrong.
そこへカノン君が来て、マリアは一緒じゃないのかと聞いたんで、初めて屋敷にはいないのかって分かったんだよ。 第一俺だったら傘を貸すより先に手引っ張って屋根の下に連れて行くぜ。
Rhoda was completely baffled. One by one, the relatives in the search denied that they had done it, even though it really wasn't something anyone would need to hide. So by process of elimination, the number of remaining candidates wasn't large.
もちろん私でもありませんな。雨が降り始めてすぐの頃、金蔵さんの部屋を訪ねて、ついさっきまで一緒にチェスをしておりました。
ということはおじい様でもないよね。
なんだなんだ、妙な話になってきたぜ。あと残るのは誰だ？
じゃあ誰？源氏さん？ちょっと待って、勘違いしないでくれる？別に私は何かの犯人探しをしてるんじゃないのよ。雨の中のマリアに傘を差し伸べてくれた人に母としてお礼が言いたいだけなの。
Giving an umbrella to a girl loitering in the room was something to be praised, not hidden. Despite that, no one raised their hand. Why not? Everyone started whispering about how strange this was getting. That's what everyone had been thinking since the beginning. They were all scratching their heads at why she didn't just ask Maria had been given the umbrella. However, Rosa bit her lower lip. After all, she already knew how Maria would answer if I asked.
どうりや、ルドルフ君の言う通りやないか。マリアちゃん、おじさんに教えてえな。マリアちゃんに傘を貸してくれたのは誰や？
ベアトリーチェ。
The dining hall was wrapped in silence for an instant, but was soon interrupted by a burst of laughter.
なるほど。森の魔女ベアトリーチェが不憫に思って傘を貸してくれたか。いい話じゃないかね。
Rosa couldn't believe it. Even though she just wanted to say thanks for the umbrella, why did everything have to be so clouded in smoke?
クラウスおじさんの言う通り、ベアトリーチェが貸してくれたの。
それはよかった。無垢だというのは実に羨ましいことではないか。なあ、諸君。
Rosa was laughing with a face that was clearly mocking, but Mario was overjoyed, apparently convinced that her claim was being believed.
一体どうなってんの？まさか本当に魔女が現れて傘を貸したってのかよ。
Jessica asked me in a small voice that wouldn't carry over to Maria, who was sitting across from me.
マリアって冗談が言えるタイプだっけ？
If we'd heard that kind of story pop out of my old bastard's mouth, we wouldn't have just taken it as another joke. However, it was hard to explain it away like that when Maria said it. This was getting pretty unnerving.
いや、昔から愚直なぐらい正直で真面目だよ。普通なら聞いただけで嘘とわかるような冗談すら鵜呑みにするタイプだぜ。マリアから冗談を言い出すなんて聞いたこともない。
Rosa probably knew that better than anyone. It appeared that, because of this weird situation, she had no idea what was going on anymore.
じゃあ、マリアがベアトリーチェに傘を借りたと言ったなら、それは間違いなくベアトリーチェなのか。
マリアに関してだけは何かの比喩とか冗談とかそういうことは考えられねえぜ。額面通りの意味だと思うべきだろうよ。
じゃあなんだよ、源氏さんあたりがあの肖像画のごついドレスを着てマリアに傘を持って行ってやったっていうのか？
そんなことは知らねえぜ。私が聞きたいくらいさ。
Jessica shrugged jokingly, but her expression didn't completely match her attitude. Once the horde of dwarves were set out and Go showed off to his vast store of knowledge, the meal began. A couple of casual chats broke out here and there, but they seemed somehow distant, and the meal ended up being so quiet that you couldn't ignore the sound of the rain sneaking into the dining hall. Kumasawa and Shannon, pushing the serving cart, ran to Genji and Cannon on their way to the kitchen.
ケンジさんですか？マリア様に傘を貸されたのは。
傘？何のことだ？
はい、雨が降り出した時にマリア様は一人でバラ庭園におられたそうで、そこでどなたかに傘をお借りになったそうなのですが、それがどなたかわからないのです。
僕じゃないよ。マリア様はゲストハウスにいると思ってたくらいだからね。バトラ様が最初に見つけられた時にはもう白い傘をお持ちだった。
申し訳ないが、それは私でもない。
じゃあまさか親方様。
Both on the dining hall and right here, everyone had stated that they hadn't done it. That left only Kinzo, but
何かのご用で廊下を歩かれている時、偶然バラ庭園に傘もささないマリア様が見えたとか。
親方様はマリア様のことをあまりお好きではない。
同感だね。親方様がマリア様のために直々に開花までお越しになって傘をお持ちくださるとは考えられないよ。
あら、困りましたわね。ではマリア様に傘をお貸しになられたのは本当にベアトリーチェ様ってことに。
Kinzo-san laughed just like the relatives in the dining hall who laughed it off. She couldn't think of any other way to break through the smoke veiling the current situation. Just then, the crisp sound of hands clapping twice rang through the hallway. They all turned around at once to see Goto coming out of the dining hall.
さあさあ皆さん、ディナーは配膳のタイミングも大事です。すぐにスープの配膳に取り掛かってください。源氏さん、彼女らは大切なお仕事中ですのでお引き止めになられないでください。
Ken glared at Goto for being rude to Genji, a person Cannon respected. Genji, realizing this, patted Cannon once on the shoulder as a warning. Cannon reluctantly turned away and returned his expression to normal.
ゴーダの指示に従いなさい。今は晩餐の配膳を急ぐよう。
ほらほら、時間がありません。タラタラしない。急ぎますよ。
Goto grabbed the serving cart from Shin and steadily pushed it towards the kitchen.
では私どもも厨房に戻らせていただきます。ゴーダさんも気の短い方ですからね。
私もこれで失礼いたします。
Kinzo and Shannon left. Only Genji and Cannon remained. The other window, the darkness of the rainy night could be seen, along with the occasional thunderbolt.
源氏様、ベアトリーチェ様が本当にお戻りになられたのでしょうか。
わからん。
親方様にお知らせしますか。
せずともよい。本当にお戻りになられたなら、やがておのずと親方様の前へ現れよう。それにあれは気まぐれなお方。親方様にご報告申し上げたところでお姿を現されないことには何の意味もない。
親方様の儀式はすでに始まっているということでしょうか。
おそらく。だがそれは我ら家具には何の関わりもないこと。親方様に受けたご恩、最後の瞬間までお返しするのみ。
はい、それが僕たち家具の務めです。
They really take that to heart in this game. The thunder crashed once more. Except for those instants when lightning lit up the sky, nothing could be seen out the window but the darkness of night. Just as humans rule when the sun is up, those that are not human rule when the sun is down. The darkness of night that now surrounded Rockenji was ruled by another master, not the Ushiromiya family. Did this master take pity on Maria when she was alone being pummeled by the rain, the Rose Garden lending her an umbrella. Kenan looked at the Rose Garden lights, dimly visible beyond the wind. The dim lights weren't enough to illuminate the surrounding area. Looking at those lights felt like making eye contact with the witch, and Kenan forced himself to avert his gaze. If he didn't, it felt like his eyes would be absorbed by that light. Can the weather change how people act? You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. For some time now, everyone had been struggling to clear the gloomy atmosphere, but any conversation was quickly cut off, and in the end, the dining hall was simply filled by the sound of the rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake accompanied by pear sherbet. Goto-san enthusiastically explained the recipe as soon as the final dish was presented, but I quickly forgot the details. The guest of honor, grandfather, was absent, the weather was horrible, and the identity of the one who lent Maria an umbrella remained a mystery. When dinner ended, no one felt even one bit refreshed. It was too late now, but I realized painfully that taste wasn't the only important part of a meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. Goto-san, the supposed conductor of this musical piece called Dinner, did its best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but apparently not one of them succeeded. After taking orders for dinner, after dinner coffee, tea, and orange juice, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Uncle Cross spoke.
やれやれ。せっかくゴーダが腕を振るってくれた晩餐も、こうも沈み込んでしまっては実に味気ないというものだ。
まったくね。今日は何を食べても美味しく感じられない、そういう気分よ。
ほう。どうしてそういう気分なのか聞きたいね。心が晴れ晴れできるよう、兄として後で協力させてもらうよ。
Yeah, Eva grinned slightly. I'd already heard she was on good terms with Uncle Cross, but it was pretty clear now. When I looked around, I noticed that my father and Aunt Rosa were also grimacing. Apparently, there was something besides the weather troubling all of them.
エヴァおばさんもうちの親父もずいぶん機嫌が悪そうっすね。
そう、私はそうは思いませんよ。
I asked Aunt Natsuki, who was sitting on my right, but she seemed to be in a bad mood as well. She snapped back as if to say she was absolutely not interested.
まあちょいと大人な話で込み入ってな。バトラ君たち子供は気にせんでええ話や。なあ夏井さん、桐江さん。
Uncle Hideyoshi left as he spoke, but without his usual brightness, so I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had become. On top of that, even in Natsui and Kiri-san, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they'd been having while his kids were away, but it reminded me of how Dad said he had stomach cramps when we arrived at the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. Yeah, way different. After Uncle Hideyoshi's comment was annoyed by the other adults, and an awkward silence fell over the room, Kirie-san spoke up.
子供たちの進路はどうなるのかしらとか、そういう話よ。バトラ君は将来はどうするの？ぼんやりと大学進学？そんなのじゃ長い人生レースのスタートラインとしては心細いわよ。
あいたたたたたた。桐江さん、飯の最中にそんな話されちまったら消化不良で便秘になっちまうぜ。
そうやそうや。バトラ君やジェシカちゃんの進路の話をしとったんや。将来のことは真剣に考えんとあかんで。
Hideyoshi hardly agreed, as if they really had been talking about that, but that was probably wrong. Kirie-san had obviously been trying to change the subject. However, if Kirie-san had determined that this was the best course of action for now, then she was probably right. Taking this into account, I cast aside my suspicions as to the cause behind Eva and Dad's bad moods. At the long last, the serving cart returned, filled with coffee and tea. Goto-san and Shin-chan served it to everyone. Goto-san then explained that this concluded tonight's meal. If only the mood had been a bit more cheery, it might have been the best dinner in my life. It was a shame that this best of dinners couldn't have been had under the best of conditions.
ジョージお兄さん、これでご飯は終わり？
うん、これでおしまいだよ。
はしてないわよ。お席について落ち着いてジュースを飲みなさい。
Mario, like, she was really excited by the occasionally crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She had been fidgeting for a while, waiting for the meal to end. Some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting, and Mario was apparently one of the latter sort. Therefore, when she heard from George and Aniki that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. She then rose from her seat, took out her handbag, which she set under her seat, never having left it, even when she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. No one seemed particularly concerned by this behavior.
なんだいそれはどこから持ってきたの
Where did you get it? George was the first to notice it, as he spoke bad their nose too. They saw that Mario was now holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in gold leaf. Furthermore, the fact that it was sealed with dark red wax made it clear that this wasn't something that Mario could have brought as a prank. It seemed that Natsuhi had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope Mario was holding. Her voice sounded too serious for someone admonishing a small child, so the relatives around us finally noticed too.
どうしたよ夏日姉さん。
それ何？あなたそれをどこで拾ったの？
その封筒は金蔵さんの。
When Naja muttered that, even us kids couldn't understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid. The envelope that Mario held was one of the Ushiromiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo.
どうしてそんな封筒がここにあるんだね。こいつは面白いもんが飛び出してくるぜ。ちょいと足に見せてみ。 Uncle Hiyoshi tried to snatch the envelope out from Mari's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it and didn't let go.
秀吉兄さん、子供相手に力ずくなんていけませんよ。マリアちゃん、その封筒はどうしたの？
傘を貸してくれた時にベアトリーチェにもらった。ご飯が終わったらマリアがみんなに読んで聞かせろって言われた。マリアは魔女のメッセンジャーなの。
メッセンジャーこの島の魔女様は随分と洒落てるじゃねえかよ。
Miller tried to joke about it, but no one laughed.
それで中には何て書いてあるのかしら、マリアちゃん。
Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. The sealing wax fell onto the disc. Hiyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He then set it in the center of the table where Natsui, Kiri, and Nanjo stared at it. Imprinted in the sealing wax was the one-winged eagle, which was the Ushiromiya family crest and also Kinzo's personal crest.
これは当主様の紋章。
私は金蔵さんに手紙をもらったことがあるからわかる。これは間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
でもこのお屋敷にはそれと同じ紋章がいくつもあるのでは？例えば風浪用のハンコのようなものがあれば金蔵さんでなくても風浪はできるのでは？
いや、金蔵さんは風浪には必ず自分が指にしている後ろ宮家当主の証の指輪で刻印をする。この形や複雑な意匠は間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。そうとは限らんよ。親族であれば一度くらいは親父の手紙を受け取ったことはあるはずだ。その風浪をもとに偽の紋章を作り、親父殿を語って刻印した可能性が否めない。
兄貴に同感だ。風浪に刻印されている紋章がどれだけ親父のものに酷似していたとしても、だからその封筒が親父のものであるという証拠にはならない。
私も全く同じよ。風浪の刻印だけでお父様の手紙だなんて決めつけることには同意できないわ。南條先生、曖昧な言葉は慎んでいただけるかしら。
これは失礼。出過ぎた口でしたな。
One after another, all the siblings across on downwards rejected Nanja's statement, saying that the envelope Marty held wasn't necessarily from Kinzo. They were afraid. They feared from the bottom of their hearts that Kinzo's intentions were written in there, and that it might be some announcement regarding the inheritance that would be decidedly unfavorable to them.
マリア、その封筒は傘を貸してくれた人がくれたのね。ふうじゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？
つまり魔女ベアトリーチェが傘と一緒にマリアちゃんにその封筒を。
Maria nodded forcefully.
主人に私も同感ですが、得体の知れない何者かが手渡した怪文書です。読むにも値しません。
せめて読むくらいいいじゃねえかよ。
Mallory said it to Jessica in a small voice, trying that tough, but Natsu heard him clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes.
それでマリアはそのベアトリーチェに食事が終わったら読めって言われたんだな。
いいじゃないの皆さん。これはおじい様の封筒ではなくベアトリーチェの封筒。誰が書いたのかはともかく中身を聞いてからの判断でもいいんじゃないかしら。
そうやな。お父さんが書いたとは限らんが、中身が気になるのは事実や。マリアちゃん、さっきは無理やり取ろうとしてすまんかった。謝るからみんなの前でそれ読み上げてくれんか。
Yeah, please read it.
マリア、読みなさい。
Until the relatives stared fiercely at Mari, she spread the letter open with a rustle.
本当に親父の手紙だと思うか。
ありえんね。親父殿が私たちに何かを発表するときは直接でなければいつだって源氏を通してじゃないか。このようなこじゃれた方法でするとは思えんね。
そうよ、マリアをメッセンジャーに。それこそお父様の趣味じゃないわよ。ローザ、これはマリアちゃんが私たちを脅かそうという何かの隠し芸なんでしょ。
マリアはそんな気の利いたことができる子じゃないわ。
The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason her voice seemed different than usual. Everyone went suddenly silent.
六軒島へようこそ、後ろ宮家の皆様方。私は金蔵様にお仕えしております当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
そんなアホな。
黙って。
長年にわたりご契約に従いお仕えしてまいりましたが、本日金蔵様よりその契約の終了を宣告されました。
So the demon roulette was the end of their contract.
よって本日をもちまして当家顧問錬金術師のお役目を終了させていただきますことをどうかご了承くださいませ。
くだらん。ざれ言だ。
聞くに耐えません。
さてここで皆様に契約の一部をご説明しなければなりません。私ベアトリーチェは金蔵様にある条件とともに莫大な黄金の貸与をいたしました。
Here's y'all's claim.
その条件とは契約終了時に黄金のすべてを返還すること、そして利息として後ろ宮家のすべてを頂戴できるというものです。
むちゃくちゃや。
初めっからむちゃくちゃだぜ。
要するにあれだろ、よくある悪魔の契約みたいなやつなんだろ。
That's exactly what it is.
契約 がおしまいってことになるから利子を回収に来たってわけだ。いいんや長年の退職金のつもりかな。ちゃっかりした魔女だぜ。
バトラ君、今は茶化さない方がいい。
He's right. Mother made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? Some of the adults' faces went pale, while others looked dazed.
これだけをお聞きならば、皆様は金蔵様のことをなんと無慈悲なのかとお嘆きにもなられるでしょう。しかし金蔵様は皆様に富と名誉を残す機会を設けるため特別な条項を追加されました。その条項が満たされた時に限り、私は黄金と利子を回収する権利を永遠に失います。
特別な条項？
それは何よ。
特別条項。契約終了時にベアトリーチェは黄金と利子を回収する権利を持つ。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。利子の回収はこれより行いますが、もし皆様のうちの誰か一人でも特別条項を満たせたなら、すでに回収した分も含めて全てお返しいたします。なお回収の手始めとしてすでに後宮本家の家督を受け継いだことを示す後宮家当主の指輪をお預かりさせていただきました。封印のろうそくにてそれをどうかご確認くださいませ。
これがそうだというのか。親父が指輪を手放すなどありえん。
He will for her. Girl stared at the wax ceiling wax as if trying to burn a hole through it. Evan and Rudolph were doing the same over his shoulder.
確かにチェスの時、金蔵さんの指に何か足りんような違和感は感じ取りました。
南條先生、おぼろげな記憶でいい加減なことを言わないように。その心眼をここでは測れないわ。本当に指輪をおじい様は誰かに手渡したのか、この手紙が本当の話かどうかはおじい様に直接確認すればいいだけの話じゃない。
そうね、桐江さんの言う通りだわ。
果たして金蔵さんがそれを答えてくれますかな。あの人のお考えは時に人の世の常識では測りかねますからな。
You're exactly right on that.
ザレ言の息を伝で。第一、黄金幻想自体が親父殿のまやかしだ。ありもしない黄金の話を始めるのはお前たちだけで十分だ。
でも魔女様はおっしゃってるわよ。黄金を見つけた者に家督と全ての財産を引き渡すってね。つまりベアトリーチェ様はお父様の顧問弁護士もしくは金庫番でもあられるってことじゃないのかしら。
このような怪しげな文章を子供に託すような怪人物を信用することなどできません。
They're all in a frenzy.
兄貴、腹を割ってもらうぜ。兄貴の知らない人物が親父の財産管理をしてるようなことはあり得るのか。
いや、それはない。私は当主代行として親父殿の全ての財産を把握し、私に知られずにそれらを自由にできる人間はいないはずだ。
じゃあつまりクラウス兄さんの把握していない財産ってことじゃないの？
バカな、そんなものあるわけがない。
あるわよ。兄さんが把握していないお父様の
そんなものあるわけがありません。
いや、あるで。それがお父さんの、いやベアトリーチェの隠し黄金や。
話を整頓しよう。つまり親父には兄貴も知らない腹心がいた。そしてそいつはずっと黄金の番と運用を任されてきたわけだ。あるいは悪魔の契約まがいのルールで融資した神塚の大富豪か。
その腹心のベアトリーチェさんは自分の黄金を融資する相手として 息子兄弟の誰がふさわしいか試したいということなのかしら。
Kiei's question was one that all siblings wanted to answer. Upon reflection, they realized that Kinzo's strange epitaph had hung in the hall beneath the witch's portrait for quite some time, and while it had been long whispered that whoever solved this puzzle would receive everything, no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. And right here, right now, the only thing they'd hoped for had been clearly stated in Beatrice's letter. It clearly specified that everything in the Ushiromiya family would be given to the one who found the gold.
黄金の隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。条件は碑文を読むことができるものすべてに公平に。黄金を暴けたなら私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。それではどうか今宵を金蔵様との知恵比べにて存分にお楽しみくださいませ。今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう心よ黄金のベアトリーチェ。
So the game has finally begun. The door to the Kinzo stove was being violently, harshly beaten against over and over again like a percussion instrument. The yells came from the other side along the crossroad, often sometimes heaven. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that adorned the table down in the dining hall was reproduced here. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being pounded on in Kinzo's face.
皆さんがお呼びですがいかがいたしますか。
しておけ。神と我が晩餐が沈黙をたっとる。
黙らせますか。
必要ない。我が耳には届いておらぬ。
Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. Kiji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. As he did, Cannon, who stood in reserve like a shadow behind, into the sight of Genji, opened his mouth.
マリア様がベアトリーチェ様より手紙を受け取られたとのことで、その真偽を確かめたいのでしょう。
あやつめ、早速始めおったか。さあ、ベアトリーチェ。 かけるコインに不足はあるまい。存分に今宵を楽しもうではないか。負ける気はないぞ。お前の微笑みは永遠に私のものだ。もう一度見られるなら富も名誉も我が命すらも惜しくはない。さてルーレットは回り始めた。 ボールはどのポケットに落ちるのか。ノワールかルージュか、それとも親の総取りか。さあ始めるがいい。ベアトリーチェ、私が再びお前に奇跡の力というものを見せてやる。
And now you'll finally get to see. I think with this we'll go ahead and stop this episode, as things are moving quite fast now. So if you are enjoying the series, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next episode of Umineko.